Your health is your greatest asset. If you treat your business world class, but you're treating your body only good enough, you're limiting the true potential of your business. This year, I prioritize self. I already see the impact on business and that interconnectedness that I think is just really powerful.
Welcome to Unreasonable Autonomy. My name is Sarah Grace. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs and innovators who refuse to settle. Here we dive deep into raw, real conversations with boundary pushers who have pursued seemingly impossible ideas and yet have achieved unreasonable results, whether that's in their faith, relationships, health, politics, yes, even business. All of those conversations are happening right here, right now. So let's buckle up because this isn't about playing it safe. Unreasonable ideas, unstoppable results. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Unreasonable Autonomy. And I have just got to get out of the way from the get-go because there is someone in the room here that this is years in the making for me to be able to dive deep into the brain of the amazing Mark Stern. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Sarah, I am so thrilled to be here. And so I'm so excited about this conversation. So let's do it.
It's going to be good. Let's do it. And as always, I think it's important you know a little bit about Mark, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're listening to the podcast. Let me give you kind of the official bio of him. And I'm going to let him tell more about his story and what got him there. And then I want to introduce you really how I know him and the impact he's had on my life. So he's like a serial entrepreneur, which I think is the greatest title ever, right? Serial entrepreneur. He is the founder of Custom Box Agency. It's an award-winning customer experience design agency in Austin, Texas. He is a former top-rated strategy consultant from, I don't even know how to say this, Deloitte Consulting?
Deloitte, you nailed it.
I shouldn't have doubted. I should have just gone with it. Okay. You are a Duke MBA graduate, which I did not know about you, by the way. Excited to dive into that part of your world, right? And then he's a Forbes Next 1000 entrepreneur, like all the cool things, right? Like if you need to know anything, listen to Mark, do everything that he says, right? But let me tell you a little bit about how I met you, right? I met you through passing you in the hall at Funnel Hacking Live. And then I started you knew everybody that I kind of knew, but I didn't know why. And so I dove into your world of really designing boxes for people, like these cool boxes that people would open. And I was so interested in doing it. And what I loved is I got on a call with you to talk about how we could create this box. And you pretty much sat with me. And in the kindest way possible, you were kind of like, you don't know what kind of journey you're taking your people on. And we decided it wasn't a fit even to move forward. And that was the first time, right, in a decade of entrepreneurship that I had gotten on, be sold to call. And someone had been like, you're not ready. You're not ready. I'm not going to take your money. I'm not going to design this for you yet. You need to figure out X, Y, Z, and then let's jump on the phone together. So that was my first impression of you, rock and roll.
That's amazing. No, thank you for sharing that story with me. And it's one of those things that it's so easy to take people's money, but it gets down to the heart of, for me, it's not about the money, it's about the impact and the impact that we could have on people's lives. And I see it again and again, which is there's a lot of pain out there. And there's a lot of people who are really good at customer acquisition. And they know how, I feel like acquisition is getting so commoditized right now. You know what to say, you know how to structure the funnel, you know the NLP tactics, but then people forget that when you sell a product, there was a promise you made with that sell. And now you have to deliver it. And most people are like, oh, no, oh, yeah, I have to deliver this thing I just sold to you. And so for me, this is why I'm so obsessed with the customer journey, which is show me the pathway to getting that outcome. And if you can show me kind of that recipe or that pathway and it's repeatable, then now you've built my confidence that I trust you. And I think a lot of people are out there looking for their trusted mentor, someone who can help guide me and alleviate some of the pain that I'm in right now. And I don't think that people want to hire multiple dozens and dozens of mentors. I think they want one or two trusted people that can get that outcome. So that's why delivery, I obsess over how is it that you're going to get the result? And especially my world with boxes are unforgiving. When you go to print, it's not like a web page or a PDF that you can just update the PDF or upload a new video. It's
Yeah.
printed, so it's a lot less forgiving. And it's one of the most powerful modalities when you go to print and physically hold this thing that is designed to help people get a result faster. So that's kind of where it's just what I don't want you to do is for me, could I sell you on more boxes and more products? Yes, I can, but I don't want a warehouse that is packed with boxes that are collecting dust, not serving people. There's a reason you started this journey. I want it to realize that impact. That's important to
Well,
me.
and it's just refreshing, right? It's not a cash grab, and that you're in this for the long term. Like you and I are friends now because you said no to me.
Oh,
Like bottom line, years in the making, right? And yet we've all had experiences where maybe we got burned by a mentor or an overpromise underdeliver kind of experience, and those relationships really ebb and flow because of those values, right? And so I love that we're sitting here today because you would not take my money. I think that's a rare occasion in the marketplace. But I want to back up and see like what made you so obsessed with that, because you went to Duke, right? You did the MBA kind of official thing. You've also done like the funnel world and the ClickFunnels world and all the things, and we've passed in the hallway. Like, give us the 4 to 5 minute version on what got you here. What's been your journey?
yeah, it's a great question. I grew up in Alabama, so I am a Southerner by
Roll
nature.
Tide.
I know, right? Roll Tide for sure. My mother went to Alabama. My father went to Georgia. So, like, in terms of a football rivalry family, even to this day, my mother will yell at this, like, she will not miss a game. And she'll be yelling at the screen anytime Alabama's playing. So,
Well, like, pause. Does this mean we need to quit it? Because my husband went to LSU.
oh, did he?
So,
No, we
like,
don't
maybe
quit at
this
all.
needs to end right now. I don't know. Okay, keep going.
And I went to Duke, so it's Duke's basketball more so than football. But I was raised, and everyone was like me. This isn't just because of my parents, but everyone was raised in the sense of you go to high school, then you graduate, and you go to college, and then after college you get the job, and then eventually you go back to grad school, and then you get the dream job, and it's like the house with the white picket fence in the family, and that's life. And
American dream.
I used to joke to say I was the poster child of that world. Like I was like, I'm crushing this game. I was president of my high school, my college, my grad school. I had the one job between undergrad and grad school, and then I worked for Deloitte Consulting right out of it. So I'm like a loyalist to a fault that I had one job between undergrad and business school, and one job from business school to starting and becoming an entrepreneur. And it's just because I
Wow.
just obsess and go all in. And it was 2012 that I graduated Duke. I was $165,000 in student loan debt. And I had just signed 2-year commitment to Deloitte Consulting. And if you know the Deloitte lifestyle, you have no life. You are a road warrior. A cab picks you up at 4:45 in the morning, takes you to the airport. I lived out of airplanes and hotels nonstop 6 years straight. In every Thursday, I'm back home. Every Monday, I'm back on the road. So it was a lifestyle, and you kind of hit a point to say, this it? Is this like winning that corporate ladder game? And I was exposed to Mind Valley. Mind Valley has a whole slew of amazing programs founded by Vishen Lakhiani, and they did this event at the time called Awesomeness Fest. They changed it to A Fest because people hated the name. But I found a YouTube video that spotlighted this, and I'm like, this looks like a really cool experience. It was Burning Man parties at nighttime and TED Talk speakers in daytime and a bunch of entrepreneurs. And I was living in this corporate bubble, dreaming of one day starting a business, not knowing what that meant. And when I went, it was an event that I tried to get my friends from business school and in life to come with me. And the main reason I signed up for it was because my life was so traveling with Deloitte that I had nothing to look forward to. And this gave me something to look forward to. And that's why I signed up. And even though no one was willing to go with me, I still wanted to go. And I never knew that that would like introduce me to the world of digital marketing and online entrepreneurship. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, the bubble of the world that I knew, like literally shattered. This was in 2013. And all of a sudden, I started looking at how to live a fulfilling life, especially like with the job that you have or the business you create through a completely different lens. And it took years to comfortably leave corporate to start a business just because I thought it was incredibly irresponsible of me to say I have $165,000 in student loan debt. I had this black cloud on my head. How dare I think about leaving corporate America to start a business? And where this all came to a head was end of 2000. It was literally this time of year back in 2017. December 27th was the exact date. I went to bed, and in the middle of the night, I woke up with tears in my eyes because I had this premonition that if I stay in this job, it will kill me. And that's all it took. That I came back January 3rd. I had to be in Dallas. And the partner I reported to, I told him I can't explain it, but I've got to go. And I had no idea what the business would be or the job would be or the adventure would be. I just had a belief that everything would be okay. And if I could release the mental capacity that occupied 95% of my head, which was Deloitte Consulting, I could eventually get in a creative state to figure out what it is. So I literally, burnt down the ships. I left a job not knowing if I was going to make money, if this would work out, what the thing was going to be, if I had enough money to even start it. It was just a belief and a hope that if I gave myself permission to explore this other realm, I believed that I would be able to figure it out and whatnot. But like, that's where this journey started. It started with someone said, do a virtual summit, which is where you interview 40 people. And I love this idea of interviewing people and building my own conference. What I didn't like about it was it felt overwhelming. And imagine being the recipient of a virtual summit and having to listen to 40 speakers. And then I'm going to sell you me. Well, if you can't get through the 40, and part of that model is if you don't listen to me in the first 5 days, you lose access. So I'm saying I don't want to help you anymore because you didn't consume all the content unless you buy from me. And it just wasn't the front relationship I wanted to establish. And I kept on saying, I just wish someone, when I would buy these programs online, would mail me the things that I needed to be set up for success. And so with that, we created a publication, and anyone who bought a ticket to this virtual summit, I mailed you out this whole publication that just gave you tools to get a result faster, have a breakthrough faster. And what that presented, and I didn't even realize it at the time, was people would get this publication. I'm trying to see if I have it in here. And the publication itself, it was called Entrepreneur Elements. It was a periodic table of all the elements you needed to know as an entrepreneur. People would start taking pictures with it and filming videos with it and discussing it with their Facebook group. And I'm seeing all this organic traffic happen. And the only thing that I did was I introduced something physical to something digital. And the second time I did a summit, I was so overwhelmed by interviewing 40 people. I was like, I only want to interview 10. And it was a very specialized topic. I actually see the box up there. I can grab it if you want to see it.
I want to see it for our YouTube people.
Yes, please. For the YouTube people. And I'll describe it for everyone else.
Yeah. If you're on the podcast, just jump over to the YouTube feed if you want to see this box.
This is box 0 that started the entire thing. And I did this thing because I wanted to learn high ticket sales. So I did this event called High Ticket Online, and I interviewed 10 different high ticket experts. And I was intentional that they all did high ticket very differently. And then I took all that information and built a physical box on it because I didn't want to drop 40 interviews on you with this summit. I wanted it to be something that you can easily consume and that you have access to.
What year is this, Mark? Just for context.
2018 going into 2019.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
And this box, I was just like, it would be really cool if I could take the key insights and then build a box. And then if people bought a ticket to this event, ship them out a box. And by just doing that, I just thought it'd be a cool way to give them something physical. And this is box 0 that started it. It's High Ticket Online. I put the speakers, you can see Eileen Wilder and some other speakers that we feature their pictures on the box. And the other thing, I wonder if it's in here. Yeah, we turned all the speakers into trading cards with key insights about their session on the front and the key insights of the interview on the back. And there was a workbook that they could go through and figure out which sessions should they listen to and how can they start thinking through outlining their own high ticket offer. And I'll give you numbers. I think the box cost me $30 at the time. The ticket was $97. I just about broke even when you talk about all the expenses with it. But because of my bump in my OTO, it was a profitable campaign, but it wasn't about the front end. It was about the back end conversion. But what was so cool was every speaker took pictures with their trading card, showed off the box. And when it started hitting the marketplace, anyone who got the box, we were getting these videos that were unboxings that took 3 to 7 minutes that people are sitting there walking through their box experience. And they're all the exact same, but everyone wanted to share. And what was happening was the attendees were now becoming ambassadors, creating all this organic traffic, selling my product for me. And I didn't ask them to, and I didn't pay them to do it. They did it out of their own goodwill because they were just excited to receive it. And that's kind of where it solidified. If you do something digital, it's a no-brainer. Give them the tools and resources. And that's really where Custom Box Agency started to come to life. People were asking me, how are you building these box experiences? If we did a course, if it's a software as a service platform, if it's an e-com product, every time I'm like, physical has to complement digital because it opens up this new opportunity. And I didn't listen initially when people were asking me about how to do this, that this is the business. It took until the end of 2019 when I launched this challenge called the Custom Box Challenge, that people bought this challenge. The challenge took off. I was teaching them how to do what I did because I was trying to buy back my time for the other business I was building. And people just kept on going through the challenge saying, we love what you're doing. Can you build our box for us? Like, we don't want to build our own. We want you to do it.
Right.
And end of 2019, beginning of 2020 was where Custom Box Agency started to come to life. And then when COVID happened, the other business was all about virtual events. You would think that that's the business that I would have gone all in on, but everyone was a virtual event expert overnight during COVID. Boxes and this, for me was like, it was mysterious. It was exciting. It was different. And my mentor said, are you the box guy or the virtual event guy? Because I had these two businesses that I was growing. And the simple act of killing the virtual event business and going all in on these custom box experiences truly was the biggest game changer of, what I did to just really solidify my positioning and grow this business.
Oh, it is mind-blowing to me. And I think something that really stands out to me is the speed of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like most people are like, took me 12 years to, and we all just feel like these over 40 weirdos, right? That have like just tried to crack the code of business. But I'm literally looking at you leaving corporate in 2017, starting to do this summit, 2017-18, right? And then you really had this like year-long gap in which you were on the precipice of COVID, where you were trying to juggle both of these things. And by 2020, you had really cracked your way into the marketplace as the box guy. That's how I was introduced to you. Like, he's the box guy, right? Does that offend you?
No, not at all. No, it's so funny though, but it's crazy. And the other belief that I didn't believe at the time was it was May 2020 that we went all in on the box experiences. May 2021, we hit 2 comma. So we hit $1 million in the business.
Oh my gosh.
Via word of mouth. We never put a dime in marketing. We never put a dime in Facebook or paid traffic, which I didn't hold a belief that it was possible. I was just so in the moment, just excited about the adventure that, you kind of take a step back and I looked into it and was like, oh, I wonder how close I am, just because of that was the community that I was involved in and had no idea.
Yeah.
It was possible for it to happen to me, that fast.
So, I mean, you told me nothing is off limits, so we're going to go here. Yeah. So the business made $1 million. What does that do to an entrepreneur when a business hits $1 million?
For me, it's a mindset shift. When you're a 6-figure business owner, part of what you're doing, like for me, you're trying to validate, is there an opportunity here? Is this a one-off luck type of thing? Is this like a seasonal type of thing? Is there really interest here, or was it just interest with the people in front of me? And there's something fundamentally that shifted just crossing over $1 million, because at that point, you have a validated concept. You have a market that is showing that there is an opportunity here. And I think that was what was the strangest thing for me, was that the second that I crossed that chasm, there was a fundamental shift that definitely changed in me. And it's no longer, am I worthy or am I qualified to have a 7-figure business? You have a 7-figure business. It's already happened. It's black and white. You are worthy and qualified of it. And it's interesting because mindset in this game that we play, I think it's the biggest part about it, is that you could have so many systems and processes, but if you don't hold the belief that you're worthy of it and that it's possible for you, that was something that one of my mentors, Bart Miller, like he helped rewire my mindset around money and around like me being worthy of it. And that was what I think heavily propelled from 6 to 7 figures. And now as we grow from 7 to 8 figures, I know it's a mindset thing. And we have amazing system and process. We have an incredible team, but part of it is just the mindset around it, because mindset is so much a part of this game.
So what is harder at the 7-figure level than at the 6-figure? What has surprised you about that level of business?
You have to reinvent the business almost every time. Things that worked when you were a, low to mid 6-figure business to a mid to high 6-figure business to a 7-figure business to whether it's 1 to 3 million or 3 to 10 million, like you're constantly, there are things that work great, And then you hit a certain point in the business that you're like, this thing always worked well and it no longer works well anymore. And so it's almost like you have these like leaky faucets, or you have these plugs that you have to do. But I tell my team, like, when we hit a new milestone and the business has grown, it is, has the team evolved? There's been moments that we've had rock stars at one phase of the business, but as the business evolved, they were no longer the right fit, and that's okay. And they weren't as excited as the business evolved, and that's okay. We had others that evolved and just flourished in a beautiful way. Team is really, really critical. The processes and the systems that you have and the technology that you use, the tool set that we use is completely different at the phase we're at right now than when we were started. You have a lot more cash flow, but you have a lot more overhead. And I'll say this, the $1 to $3 million range is a bubble, because you have you've proven the concept and you have great revenue that's coming in, but you have a lot more expenses to build, to truly build the foundation to help grow you to the next level. So there's just a lot of things that happen that, for me, it's like a game and I love it. And I'm just like, buckle up, let's play. And my team knows that if they feel the pressure because, we're at a new junction in the business, they know that we will always optimize process to alleviate the pressure or introduce additional support and tools, make it easier for team or grow the team. Because my team, I'll even say this, your team is your everything, no matter what stage you are in your business. Respect your team, support your team. I am not a client first mentality. I'm a team first mentality, because I believe that when your team feels empowered and supported, by default, they're going to over deliver for clients. And we want to deliver exceptional client experience. But my team is such a blessing, and they really do so much pressure on me. And some of them, sometimes it's amazing to see their vision and how they see things far exceeds something that I could have ever realized. But that element is, they will always be there to support each other and to support you and support the clients. But that is just one of those things that, all phases, I will always say team is critical.
Well, and something that stands out, the one word that you brought up with your team is respect. And that has been so similar for me, that the most important thing in the room when there's a CEO and there's a team member is that there's mutual respect back and forth. Your respect for their skill, their respect for your skill. And that's where magic happens, right? That's when it's explosive.
It's incredible. And I will say at the beginning, I used to hold a belief that I was the only one who could do this thing in the business.
Yes.
And that is one of the most toxic and worst beliefs you can hold, because if you believe that you're the only one that can do it, then you just said, my business can't scale because I hold a belief that I'm the only one who can do it. So there were times that was my belief. And then I had to rewire the belief to say, I'm not a special snowflake. Anything that I can do, other people can be trained to do it. And it's amazing, because then, one of the best things you could do if you have a team is do a team retreat, whether virtual or in person. I say that just because when we did our first team retreat, we were at a very different place. I think it cost me $10K to fly the team in, and I was sweating it because I was like, that's so much money at where we are right now. And I don't know how this is going to go. And retreats are one of those magical things that when you pull everyone together, how they come together. And a struggle that I faced early in the business is I was like, why aren't people taking more responsibility? Part of the problem is they weren't taking more responsibility because I was the problem. And when we did that first team retreat, literally my integrator at the time, she's still on my team, Danielle Levy, she was like, Mark, stop talking. We're going to drive this. I want you to look. I want you to observe and just make sure we're on track. And the magic that started to happen was the team started taking ownership and was able to showcase their brilliance. And now retreats are a part of our DNA, because they come up with ideas that I never would have. And the way that they started taking ownership of the business was incredible, in a way that I was just like, I got to get out of my own way.
My goodness. And that an operator could come in and just say, look, step back for a minute, right? Again, that respect, step back, watch this, watch what happens. And that you could be in that space to really observe it and own the fact that this is a better way, right? Matters a lot. And I want to back up for a minute of something that you said early on in the interview when you were talking about, okay, money mindset and past the $1 million mark and all that kind of stuff. You were talking about, you have to know that you're worthy of it. And has that been a challenge for you? Or were you raised in a way you're worthy of the life you want? You were raised to picket fence it and go get the MBA and go to Duke and be fancy, right? And do those things, which in a way is a external validation of I'm worthy of the things I've earned. But where does that worthiness come from for you?
It's a good question. It's first, my parents are amazing.
Awesome.
I love my parents. We grew up in a very humble household in Alabama. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't, to this day, you will never see me be the person that is driving the Lamborghinis and lives in the flashy houses and all the things like that. I'm actually pretty simple. Like, I don't need a lot of money to live. I love, just creating impact and seeing the impact on others. When we build
Mm.
these box experiences and someone holds it and you see your customers hold it, for me, it's one of the most exciting parts of the process, because even when like a client receives their box for the first time, because they know the heart, it's like bringing them to life. That
Mhm.
to me is incredibly powerful. I'll be honest, the game we play, it's hard to know, like, am I on track? Am I off track? Am I doing what's right? Am I doing what's wrong? Is this the right path
Amen.
for me? Am I crazy and thinking what I'm thinking? Your own beliefs are so powerful, because it's so easy to let other people dictate how you should show up and how you should be. And I think one of the greatest lessons I learned is that, sometimes when you deal with things, especially if it's from other people, it's a simple idea that sometimes other people are bestowing their own beliefs upon you, and that's just their own insecurities coming across on you. And it's easy to internalize it. Maybe it's me. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And part of it is holding the belief of, and I think this is true for a lot of entrepreneurs. When we start this game and we have this idea and we are like bringing it into the world, we want to be seen and we want other people to see what we see. And I think that, like, that what I lucked out about with Custom Box Agency is, at the early days with these box experience, and this is the biggest challenge we have to this day, is I'm like, Sarah, you need a box experience. You're not going to know what that means, because
Right.
it's kind of our own like blue ocean, our own concept. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in rooms and said, you need a box experience that would solve that problem. And they're just eyeballs staring back at you. But with this game,
Sure.
it was just holding the belief deep inside to say, I see something here and I see something that can help people. And client zero for me, my first case study, people forget that it could be you. Like, you could
Oh, I
be
love that.
your first case study.
Yep.
And I saw the impact of just the things that I was doing. And then it became this, and it's so easy to hold a vision and other people not see it and then get discouraged. But like, that's what's kind of fun about something tangible, is that it's in your face and people can hold it. And it was Stacy Martino. Stacy
I do know, Stacy.
was one of the first that said, I was like, do you see it? Do you see the vision? And she went, I see it. And she's like, can you do this for me? And then it was the next person that came in line that was like, I'm like, do you see it? Do you see it? And a lot of people are like, I don't get it. I don't know if I see it. And then you have the next one that's like, I see it too. And so part of it is just holding on the belief that, okay, other people are starting to see it. And for those who are watching the video, behind me represents tiles that represent all different experiences that we've launched, this whole wall from ceiling to the floor. And we have a ton more than these tiles behind me, but they all represent, I like to put a tile on the wall because it represents a way to celebrate our clients and how they're simplifying their customers or their employees' transformation. And, I never in a million years would have thought, we would have done as many experiences, and I'm just getting started with this game. But that's what's exciting, is that it just started with very few people seeing it. And then it's almost like this momentum is starting to build, and I feel the momentum, and I can't wait to get loud in the world to be like, I need people to understand this vision of these box experiences and what we're doing, and why, especially in this age of AI, where you see this digital distrust start to rise because of the
Yes.
content that's being pumped out. Tying something physical is a powerful, and what's old is new again. We loved the physical in the past. That's the only way we did it pre-internet. What's old is new again, and how we can reimagine this and build trust and help get people results. Physical isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And now I'm just hoping, I want it to be as synonymous with business, like an iPhone case is to an iPhone. Like, you can have an iPhone without a case, but when you introduce the case, it could protect it. It could extend the lifetime value of it. It could be customized or personalized down to the individual. There's just so much value to the case that when I buy a phone, I would never think about not getting an iPhone case to help extend the lifetime value. I want people to think about that with boxes in their business. If you have a
Absolutely.
product, yeah, it's a no-brainer to have this box. Make it easy for your people to get results.
Oh, it's incredible. And the way that you cast the vision associated with the product of just, let's just help your people do better with the things that you are already a genius at. Let's supplement that. Let's make that happen, just like an iPhone case or something like that. Do you think that you will ever, like, how long are you going to work in it? Are you going to be the 80-year-old guy that I'm going to interview in 40 years? And I don't know how old you are. Like, are you going to walk away? Are you going to sell it? Like, what are you going to do with it?
So it's interesting. It's such a good question. And they say every business should be built to sell eventually.
I disagree.
And that's what everyone tells me. But
Okay.
here's the reason why I struggle with it. One is my father, my entire life was like, I'm going to retire at 65. He's now a retired podiatrist, but he said that. And then he got to 65 and was like, well, what am I going to do?
Right.
And then he kept on working until I think 72 and finally retired. But I love the game and the craft, and I need to send you some of the ones that we're launching. I'm grabbing some for those who are watching on video, but like
Guys, first look. Here we go.
Our own products. And that to me is like we could sit down and have a conversation and then create and bring to life a product that can help people. And this year it was literally one of my mentors looked at me and said, you build these boxes for everyone else. Why aren't you doing it for yourself? I mean, aside from box 0, I really hadn't done it for myself in a while.
Oh, interesting.
And I had done a couple early on, but like since 2020 of going all in on custom box agency, we were so focused on client boxes. Yeah. And what's so much fun is that we're playing with different box modalities. So a lot of people are like familiar with the display mailer, where it's all one piece that folds, like this type of box, that the whole box is one piece and you can open up and it all lives in one box. But last year at this time, I was driving home and I was like, it would be really cool. As you grow a team, one of the biggest challenges we faced is how many hats you're wearing. Do you know how many hats you're wearing in your business? Do you know how many hats your team's wearing? So as you scale your business, you may have a small team that wears lots of different hats. They may be the copywriter and the scheduler and the executive assistant and the funnel builder. But in order to truly stop working in your business and on your business, you really need to understand what are all the different roles that I'm playing. And so that brought this product to life, which is 57 hats. This is one that is about to hit the marketplace, which is a collaboration with James Friel and Yada Golden, who also come from the community. But all we did, I'll send you one of these, is take this idea of hats, and it breaks down a business into 5 departments and all the different roles in those departments. And it takes you through an exercise to help you visualize all the different hats that you could be wearing. We played off this idea of hats. Like, what would a hat look like that's a graphic designer hat? And so it's playing off of it. And we leverage cards to have the modality of a card and on a game board to help you like have a vernacular around it. Yes. And then with this product, we give you in the online portal, here's the role. Here's an overview. Here are the KPIs you should be considering for this role. Here's a job description you can swipe and modify for the role. Here's interview questions. Here's sample tests you can give these candidates. And here's their personality test, Myers-Briggs, Strengths Finders, DISC assessment. So you have all these for every single role. And there's over 57 different roles in this, but like to give people a vernacular to understand, is this a role I should do? Is this a role I should delegate? Is this a role I should sunset? It's just a visual way to do it. And it's an acquisition play because there's a whole back-end suite that we can help. We've done something similar with people in the virtual event space. And you can see here's a magnetic box. It's a different modality. We've done something similar with Activate Deck. Can you lay out your customer acquisition strategy? And we leverage cards in this way as well to help people not have to think through, I struggle with the visibility and getting customers. We're just leveraging a box experience to give you the tools to just be able to brainstorm and lay it out. And so like, this is kind of what I get excited about to your question around, do I see myself selling the business? Anytime that like I see an opportunity, I see the solution in a box experience. And that makes me feel like I'm in the right space. And with that, there's just this endless supply of ideas that I can play with that just turns it into this playground. And that's what's fun is that I have the capabilities. I have a warehouse. I have a design team. Well, I have a strategic process and an amazing team behind it. So no matter what ideas we come to, it's the same workshopping process we take clients through to bring it to life and get it in the hands of the customers. And in that sense, the sky's the limit. And what I would say is I could eventually sell the product lines off or box experiences off, but the container around it that allows me to innovate, for me, it's an endless playground. Yes. And you're clearly like in the thick of it in the best way, right? Celebratory of it. And there's no end to this. And this is timeless. And I would agree with all those experiences. It's almost like everybody thought books were going to die, right? Yeah. Because of when the Kindle was developed or ebooks or whatever. And it's like, are you kidding? Like sales are through the roof because people want to hold something, right? Yeah. I read my Bible like in person. I cannot do it on my phone, right? Like it has to be in person. And so you're really working with something that is timeless for people in that experience. It's so
So,
funny to say that too, because I prefer, I went the whole digital route because I was like, this is so
okay.
convenient. And then now I'm like
Right.
back to physical. I'm totally back to physical books.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. And I really, again, I'm broken record. It's a timeless principle. I think that people want to hold something and experience something like that. So I'm a little bit fascinated that you're like, I don't think I'm going to leave this because I'm just having fun. Right. I'm just having fun. I love the creative element. I am a creator. And I love that a lot of your product lines are highlighting, team roles and all these different things that people need in a visual way. And I just have really marveled at your success. I really have. Right. And I know that there's highs and lows. I get it. Like we're not here to posture or anything like that. But I just have been so impressed that your success did not come at the expense of quality or relationships.
Mm.
And that just makes my heart absolutely soar. And that's why I want you here. Right. And I want to talk to you.
Oh,
And one of the things that has been so new for you, at least it's felt new visually, is that one of those things that had to be put on the side, so to speak, as you were building that success was your health, right? And I asked permission to dive into this. Is that
you can
accurate?
go as far as you want into this. Let's talk about
Okay.
it.
So what happened? What was it that has health always been a priority for you? Is it kind of a new thing now that you have time and space and capacity? Like, what has been your experience in that way? Sensitive topic. Let's go.
It's interesting. It was something that I feel like when you're younger, it's a little bit easier. Like it's easier to stay healthy, and then you get older and realize that anything you eat can stay on you very, very quickly. I think the biggest factor is I'll start with my own personal story, which is when I was born, my feet toed in really badly. So my feet were very much toed in. I remember wearing braces on my legs, so as I grew, it helped like pull them back into alignment. But growing up in Alabama, everyone wants to play football for Alabama. You want to be an athlete. It's a big
Yeah.
athletic state. And as a kid, I tried to play sports and soccer and everything, and I would trip over my feet and just accepted at a really young age that I'm not an athlete. And that was just a belief that I held. My parents are amazing. This has nothing to do with them. It was,
Sure.
they gave me the best childhood I could have ever asked for. But I just accepted. And I think I went through this pursuit, like in middle school and high school, figuring out what is it that I'm good at. And the blessing that I would go back and tell my younger self is like, I felt like I failed and failed and failed, but failure never bothered me because I failed so much trying to figure out what it was. And I didn't realize what a gift that was at that age, failing as much as I did, because there are people who get into their 20s and 30s and experience failure for the first time and don't know how to handle it. I turned 30. I set a goal to do a 5K a month, which, running a 5K, simple race. I live in Austin, Texas. There's a funny, quirky little 5K every single weekend.
Yeah.
And it felt big, but I wanted the medal at the end of the 5K. And because that showed proof that like I had completed it. And I started this journey January, February, March, April, did the 5Ks, and it hit May. And I realized I can do this. I'm capable of doing this. And I wanted something different because I was getting bored, but I have to stay on track for this goal. And that's where I kind of discovered Spartan Races. And Spartan Races are these mud run obstacle course races. And it was a Groupon that I saw on my Facebook feed about it. And I bought it.
Go Groupon.
I know Groupon, right? Chicago. It was the last weekend of May. And as it got closer to that date, I remember thinking, what did I just sign up for? And then I started researching it, and I'm looking at these pictures of these athletes, and that was so not me. And I almost talked myself out of not doing it because I was like, I don't look like these people. I'm not athletic like these people. What if I make a fool of myself on these obstacles? And thankfully, there was this voice in my head, even the day of, it was just like, just get in your car and go to the race. You can always turn back. No one's going to know. And slowly got to the event, crossed the starting line, and was into the race and had a blast. Like I was giggling the whole time. It was this grounds of inspiration. And then I crossed the finish line and never realized that that was even possible for me. And what Spartan does so brilliantly is when you cross the finish line, they give you a medal. I'm holding up the medal, but they give you a full medal. And attached to the medal is a third of a medal. And so this mark right here, this third of a medal that they attach to their medal, is one of the most brilliant things you could ever do, because they said, okay, congrats on getting your Spartan sprint race, which is the 3 to 5 miler, their 5K. Now go for your trifecta, which means you have to collect the other 2 wedges. And the other 2 wedges, one is a blue one, which is an 8 to 10 miler, and a green one, which is a half marathon. And the rule was you had to do it in the same calendar year. So this was 2015. And had you told me at the beginning of the year, I'd be doing a half marathon mud run before the end of the year, I would have said you lost your mind. However, when I received the first wedge, and then I got the second wedge, the blue wedge, and you can see this is the one from this year. All of a sudden, you have 2 of the 3 pieces. And when you have 2 of the 3 pieces, I don't want an incomplete medal. So if I have to drag my body across the finish line to do a half marathon mud run, I'm going to do it.
Right.
And it was amazing. And this kind of taught me this lesson about entrepreneurship, which is it's so important for us as entrepreneurs to hold a bigger vision for your people than they hold for themselves. And Spartan held a bigger vision for me that I was capable. And the pictures, if you see the pictures I took at the time, by the end of it, it was this transformation I went through that was, I am an athlete. I do belong here.
Oh my gosh.
I am capable of this. And so this journey was something that I committed to every year to do my trifecta. And I did it all the way up to COVID. And then Spartan was on hold for that year. And what I didn't realize, and this was, when COVID was happening, I don't think I realized how toxic COVID was for me and my body. But I got up to, I'm 5'11", and I got up to about 250 pounds. And that is not me. That was the heaviest I've ever been in my life. And I'm growing this business. So I'm pouring myself into the business, and we're all in quarantine at home, and didn't realize just how much I wasn't taking care of myself. And to your question, what happened, it was literally this time last year. So we're talking December of 2000 and was that 23? Can't believe it's a year ago. After COVID, I'd gotten down to the 220s. And I started getting ocular migraines in the eye. And
what?
Yeah, I'd never had that. So it's like having a conversation, and chunks of my vision were missing. And I don't even get migraines. Like, I've never really gotten a migraine before. And how I felt in my skin, I didn't feel healthy. And then I read this article that said the average human in the US lives to 78. And I was 39, turning 40 at the time. And so 39 is truly, if we average person lives to 78, 39 is the midpoint of life. And this idea of entering this new decade and like reflecting on where I am, sure, the business is doing great, but personal and personal, your love relationships, your family, and self, I'm putting these on a back burner. And it was this wake up call. That was the event that happened to me, was you're turning 40. Who do you want to become the second half of your life? And it scared me. I literally had to raise a white flag and ask for help. And it's not something that I'm good at doing, asking for help.
How did you ask for help? Who did you ask? What's your source of help?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I just started researching, and I was just like, I know I need help. And someone needed to understand the world I was coming from. I came across a guy named Mauro Stara. He has a business called Six Pack CEO. He has a whole method that he works with CEOs. Genius. And at first I was like, this kind of sounds like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if this is the right crew for me, but just dropped him a message, reached out to him. He got on a call with me. We chatted a little bit, and there was something in my gut that said, you need to do this. I'd lost all motivation to go back to the gym at the time. I was afraid that I would find out going into my 40s that I was pre-diabetic, or that I had diabetes, or there's something wrong with me. I hadn't had a physical or a checkup since pre-COVID, just because COVID took me so off track, which is not typical of me. And so all these things that were happening, that I was just like, I was scared that I was going to find out something was wrong with me, and took a lead. And what's crazy about this whole thing was his program was $12K for the year. And that's a lot of money. And it was money that I'm just sitting there going, am I really about to spend $12K? And I have joined so many business masterminds that I've spent $25,000 to $50,000 on these business masterminds. And I'm sitting there looking at this going, I've spent so much more money on business stuff that was not even, worth the investment.
Yeah.
For 3 meetings in a year. And this is my health, and it's averaging out to $1,000 a month. And this is something that it is my greatest asset. Your health is your greatest asset. So $1,000 a month all of a sudden became this no-brainer. And looking back at it, we're talking about a program that my body fat percentage was 39 when I started. Now I think it's about 16, 15, 16%.
Oh, Mark.
I started at 220s. Now I'm in the 170s. How I look, how I show up, how I feel in my own skin. I never believed I could get six pack lean. Now I'm starting to see the definition starting to come through.
Oh
And
my gosh.
this like transformation, I never thought it was possible for me. And if you see what I looked like then, and if you see what I look like now, it's like two different people. And how I show up is, I think it's always been the version of myself that's always been there.
Yeah.
It's just now he gets to truly step into the limelight and embrace, and it's true to say, like, I don't know, I'm more excited about this second half of life. And I was afraid of 40s, but now I can't be more excited about it. But the thing that I learned, and this was my biggest breakthrough, is if you've ever heard the saying, you're only as good as your weakest link.
Yeah.
And this was true with growing a team. There were members of the team that were rock stars at one phase, but as we elevated, they became weak links and they were unhappy. And it took my COO at the time saying, you're keeping this person on board who's clearly unhappy, which is giving permission to everyone else on the team to say, this behavior is tolerated and this behavior is okay when it's not. And you eliminate the weak link. And the same thing with partners that we've worked with. If I want to be world class and I'm partnering with third-party partners that are just happy being good enough, the best I can be is good enough because I can only show up as that lowest denominator. And so taking that same concept to say, you are made up of your business, how you make money, your personal life, so your family, friends, your love and relationships, and yourself, your body, fitness, nutrition, sleep, relaxation, motivation, spirituality, all of that. If you treat your business world class, but you're treating your body only good enough, you're limiting the true potential of your business. The same thing, if you treat your relationships good enough and other parts world class, like it's all connected. And so if I truly want Custom Box Agency to thrive the way that and have the impact, then the question becomes, how well am I investing in the personal relationships? How well am I taking care of self? Because you pull those up and you up level those, it's going to directly impact the business. And I've seen that I'd say historically, I've always prioritized business. This year, I prioritize self. I already see the impact on business. And that's kind of that interconnectedness that I think is just really powerful.
I love it so much. And I feel like I knew your journey, and now I really know your journey as far as your health and the things you experienced. And I'm starting to see a pattern on how you decided to leave corporate and how you decided to start this business and then do Spartan Races. And it's just that there's this voice of like, it's all going to be okay. Like, leave corporate.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be okay. And then there was this other pivotal point where it was like, just get in the car and go to the race. Like, you can turn back, but just get in the car, right? And then the other time is like, you need to do this. You absolutely need to do this with your health, and $12K a year. And like all of a sudden that seems like pennies now with what you've seen. Yeah. And so what is that voice within you? Talk to me.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a lot of curiosity. And then there's also the fear of like, what if you don't? But it's just this idea of choice, that we have a choice. The question is, are you going to make one? And I see a lot of people, and I've seen this my entire life, is that it's like, let's jump together. Let's do this together. And they go, yes, let's do this together. And then I jump and I turn back and they haven't moved. And I feel like I've gotten so used to that, to say, I can see the solution and the thing that can help you, but you have to be the one to make the choice. And I can educate you and tell you and show you the path, but I can't push you. This is the whole, bring a horse to water, you can't force it to drink. And I had to learn to be comfortable that if, life is about the experiences that you have, and I want to experience life. And I've seen so many friends that it's so black and white to me, but I just can't force them and I can't push them, because if they're not ready to make that choice, there's only so much that I can do. And I don't want to, I don't know. So I can control me, and we have choice, and choice is powerful. It's just a matter of not, are you going to make the choice? And
I want to get into this. I want to get into it. So I'm just visualizing this thing, like imagining that you're walking up like the shape of a Y, right? You're walking up this Y, and you've got a pathway to the right that is scary, unfamiliar, jump off a cliff, right? Hire the coach, quit the corporate, whatever it is. And then there's the familiar path to the left, right? Hero's journey, all the things, right? It's familiar, it's comfortable, it's what I know, it's all that kind of stuff. And I think that we can all see the value in us as the hero, like take the path to the right and just go after it and build the box agency and like go, 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 go. But you bring up a really challenging dynamic. So stay with me. There's this dynamic of people that you love that you are walking that straight Y with. And there's a path to the right that you want to go on. And maybe loved ones or family or friends or those people that you really want to keep near to you don't want to go. And so what has been your experience in how that's impacted your relationships for good or bad? Like, have you left people behind? How do you maintain relationships when someone wants to maybe stay comfortable and doesn't have that entrepreneurship drive? And like, what's been that dynamic for you?
Yeah, these are all great questions.
Because you can't straddle it. At some point, you can't straddle it.
Yeah, it's, when I moved to Chicago, I didn't have any friends. When I left DC and moved to Chicago, but there was something that was calling me to Chicago. And when Chicago became comfortable, so comfortable to me that I had friends and I had a network, and I felt like I was kind of coasting, something was pulling me to Austin. I didn't have any friends in Austin, but there was something that was calling me there. And it's funny because I came from a world that was very fact-based. When you come from a world like Deloitte, it's all what's the data say, what's the facts say. Yes. And if you have a recommendation, it's like, I don't really care what you personally feel about it. So you're suspending intuition, you're suspending self. That was the world that I came from, to to literally make an argument or a case based on facts. And now data shows us that facts can be manipulated too. And I think that one of the things that I've never really embraced is this power of like, are you trusting gut and intuition and leaning into that? Meaning you may not know, you may not have like the words or the vernacular or know exactly why you're being pulled in this direction. But a hard lesson that I've learned is when I lean in and trust my gut, it never steers me wrong. And so that's kind of where this idea of FOMO of like, oh my God, if I don't do it, I'm going to know. If my gut is like saying it's not there, then I'm not going to have that FOMO. But what I also learned is if I don't listen to my gut, it comes back to bite me. And that was, and I've even been reminded of that lesson this year. There's things that have been happening this year that I knew the right thing to do. And I didn't listen to my gut. And usually I always listen to it. But I think that that's the thing, is that there's something that I can't put words to, but it's a feeling. And to your question of I think we can make a choice to stay in touch with people and build a relationship and make time. I think the beautiful thing about moments like this right now is that we can be in two different cities, but still have this moment together. And we're harnessing this moment right now together. But I also have to recognize that I'm on my own path and you're on yours. And I have to respect that as well. And we all grow and evolve in different ways. And although you may not grow at the same rate as I do or at the same time, you may come and our paths may cross again at some other point. But that's the thing. And the other thing that has been an interesting topic that I've been thinking about is this idea of environment is the people that you're around because of the convenience of the environment that you're in. And are those your people? And that's been another question I've been asking myself lately, is that like, I love my people from Alabama, but those are the people around me. Those are the people in my environment. And I left that world, but a lot of them have stayed there. That's okay. And I love my peers in DC when I went to undergrad in DC and grad school at Duke and living in Chicago. And there's these different bubbles, and that's life, is that the different environments that you live in, there's just different relationships you start to build and establish. And, people come in and out of life. But I think that that's just something that you live once. And life, I've seen peers that I did not expect have their life cord cut short at my age. And it's a constant reminder of, are you living, your true life's purpose? And are you truly embracing it in a way that, you could look back and, try and maximize this time we have?
Like, have you lost relationships because of your business or because of your health journey? Like, have you had things that have been lost as part of that process?
I'm probably going to say yes. And the reason I say yes is that sometimes you have to, and this is, I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but sometimes you have to just realize this, that sometimes when you fall in and out of relationships, sometimes it's not about you. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many encounters that I had or watched from other people, and they take it personally. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with you. This has everything to do with them and their journey. And sometimes they personify what's going on with them onto you.
Yep.
And in that lens, what I don't want is I'm on this health journey and then someone's challenging it and is calling it out. And it's like, you're a different person. But the reality is they want to change. And I'll say this, I am a different person. How I show up, I don't want to go out to eat and go back to the same habits of what I was eating that got me into the state that I was in. And that's okay. I have evolved. Right. But if that's how you choose to live your life, I'm not going to judge you for it. Order whatever you want when we go out to eat. I'm going to order what I'm going to order, but I'm not going to judge you for it. But, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people that struggle themselves on their own journey and put it on to you as if you were the problem. Because I don't know, this is where you have control over, I can't blame. And I've seen people blame, I blame my parents for the way that I look. Well, at the end of the day, it's your body and you choose what you put in your body, and you could choose to be healthy. And I'll also say this on the health journey. I thought I understood how to be healthy. And I learned that 40 years on this earth and having been in and out of shape, I don't think I really had a good education. I don't think we really educate people well on how to be healthy. I think we know. And that was this whole entire journey that I've been on with this program I've been in. They did blood work, and based on the blood work, they prescribed supplements that were based on what I was deficient in. If you asked me what I was deficient in, I have no idea because I can't see. And then the simple thing of stepping on a scale, I look at the number and was I worked out so hard this week and I ate healthy, but why is the scale up? Well, they don't talk about water fluctuation and that certain foods may make you retain water. But even if the weight went up, you don't know if you burned fat and added muscle. And that was what was happening to me in this journey was, if I looked at the numbers on the scale, it's easy to get discouraged. But what the numbers don't tell on a standard scale is your body's made up of fat, water, and muscle. Do you know what the composite is? Because knowing that, and that's why there's a place here. A lot of gyms have this, but I could do a body scan that takes under a minute that can tell me week over week, your muscle's gone up, your fat's gone down. That's why I know I've lost 60 pounds of fat on this journey. I put on 10 pounds of muscle and another 10 to 15 pounds of water weight. I'm okay putting on water weight and muscle, but I want to burn the fat. So it's okay if those numbers are not going down as rapidly as long as the makeup is. But that's just education. So there's just so many factors like that it's hard to evaluate and judge and know. And that's me just saying that this is a perfect example to say, I didn't know how to be healthy because I didn't have the vernacular or the education that I thought I needed. And so that's kind of where everyone's on their own journey and, and whatnot. But I don't know. I may have lost friends along the way, but nothing comes top of mind. I feel like what I will say is that on this journey, I've been pretty vocal, and you've seen I've been pretty vocal online about it. Yeah. And part of it was to hold me accountable and just be vulnerable and be exposing something that I would never go public about. But I felt just declaring, owning my journey. I felt incredibly supported along the way too.
Yes. And I think that's where it really comes full circle with me, with our entire conversation is, yes, you have had these pivotal moments that we've declared over and over that have really been very landmark, can't remember what they call it, an inside out core memory kind of experiences that really have built you to who you are and where you are and where you are and the successes that you've had and what you've built. And I actually feel like the real secret sauce in what you've taught us today is that you have owned all of the little choices, right? Because truly in that moment of you realizing you weren't educated about your health or whatever, you could have blamed your mom who cooked for you. And you could have gone into those kinds of spaces. But as you approach these moments of autonomy, right, of choice, that you've consistently said, in this moment, what am I going to choose? Right? Because truly, and I'll bring up another one, you could post about your health journey in this incredible Spartan race that you've done, right? And you could in that moment be like, oh, but that's going to make so-and-so feel bad. Or is that ego? Is that you could have overthought the whole thing, right? Which is what so many of us do. But you've taken all these little moments of choice and you've owned it. I'm going to make the choice and I'm going to write it, right? I'm going to make a choice. I'm going to write it. I love it.
And you know what you're also triggering for me, though? I think we have this inherent nature, especially with social media, to want to be voyeurs, to want to lean in and watch other people's lives. And I mean, we watch this in Hollywood and reality television shows. We watch this looking at celebrities. And I still think even online, We have this ability that, we would watch and know what's going on in other people's lives, whether or not we've had a conversation with them, whether or not we want to admit that we know it. And, I think one thing that I did not expect as a byproduct is how the decisions that I can make or the decisions that you can make also give other people permission to make similar decisions.
Yeah.
And, leaving corporate America to start a business, I know people were watching me because people, especially during COVID, were saying, I've been watching what you were doing. Talk to me about what you did. Yeah. And it was almost like, I just shared my story and I took a leap of faith. And now if that can give someone else permission to do so, and the same thing with the health journey, the amount of people that I've not heard from that have messaged me or reached out to me and bought a walking pad or bought a ZozoFit suit or started incorporating steps a little bit more in their daily habits. And it's just me sharing it. It's like giving them permission too. And hopefully it instills a belief if I can do it, then you absolutely can do it too.
What a frame. What a frame. And that's actually been my experience with you twice. Like really? You first gave me permission to say no to clients, right? And we joked about that at the beginning. But that is a route of permission that has absolutely saved my business.
Really?
To walk in with confidence, sit across from a client, know I have an amazing service and be able to say no. Like I actually can't help, right? Like that can be something. And I think the second thing that really stood out to me, which is actually why you're sitting here right now, was I was watching your health journey, and what it brought to my mind was, look, he has a lot of things figured out. He's got teams figured out. He's got his role figured out. He's got, the cool boxes in the background, like all like the $1 million mark figured out. And there are parts of his life he is still trying to tackle.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe that's my health, or maybe that's my spirituality, or maybe that's whatever that may be. But it gave permission to say, we are still fighting the fight, right?
Oh, yeah. And I don't think that fight's ever going to end,
Which is why we're serial entrepreneurs, right?
I know, right? It's like, but that's it's just, there's so many other aspects. And it's funny, the simple framing of personal, professional, and self. And like looking at life through that lens to be like, I've just been dedicating myself to business, professional. What am I doing to optimize personal? What am I doing for self? And it's just, there's a whole nother adventure that I barely even scratched the surface of which I didn't have a vernacular for it or a framing for it. And now it's this other area that is what's going to happen when I invest in really prioritized relationships. What's that impact going to be on me in my business and other things? It's all connected. So that's kind of where it's just this, like, this year was about self. Next year is going to be heavily focused on relationships, personal.
And we'll do a round 2 when you figure out and make a box out of it, please.
I love it. Well, there may be something brewing that we need to talk about in a little. There may be something brewing. There's an experience I'm dying to bring to market as a result of this journey.
Well, boxer me. I want to hear about it.
I'll tell you about it. I'll send you a boxer.
Okay. Brilliant. Well, Mark, I just, at the conclusion of this interview, like, I could talk to you for another 3 hours. Like, I really could. I just am really amazed, right? I'm impressed. I'm amazed. And I also just feel like, man, this is someone who's doing what we're doing, right? That's going through the highs and the lows, and that is changing opinions and growing opinions and creating respect for his past version and like loving his current version and just climbing the mountain, just like all of us are. So thank you so much for your candor and your willingness to just talk about the amazing and talk about the hard all in one. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate it. What amazing questions you've been asking. So this was a lot of fun. I really do appreciate you, and I appreciate our friendship.
Incredible. Well, thanks again. And the amazing Mark Stern, thanks again for being here.
Thank you for listening to the Unreasonable Autonomy podcast. If you loved this episode, my guests and I would love to hear about it. Go to the show notes to reach out and let me know what resonated with you or what topics or guests you want to hear in the future. I am here to create for you. Look, I deeply admire your commitment to pushing boundaries and going after an unreasonable life. Keep dreaming big, taking bold steps, and expecting the unreasonable. For more, go to the show notes to dive deeper into the conversations that will keep you going. Thanks for being here.